Notre Dame goes to Stanford with seemingly everything on the line. Win, and the Irish will have completed an 11-1 regular season, the only loss by 2 points at number 1 Clemson. It would be a great resume, and maybe enough to get into the college football playoff. But the Irish haven't played as well down the stretch, and the injuries continue to mount. Meanwhile, with 2 losses, Stanford needs a lot of chaos to get back into the playoff picture. But with do-everything running back Christian McCaffrey, who should be on everybody's Heisman radar, the Cardinal might have what it takes to create a little chaos of their own. The Bedlam rivalry has lived up to its nickname in recent years, and there's no reason to suspect anything different this time around. With a win, Oklahoma would be in prime position for the playoff. Sooners quarterback Baker Mayfield, who missed the second half of the TCU game last week with a concussion, is expected to be back, and that's critical. Meanwhile, after losing to Baylor last week, Oklahoma State would need a lot of help to get into the playoff picture. But the Cowboys could grab a share of the Big 12 title and knock their rivals out of everything. They'll need to find a way to run the football. They had only 8 rushing yards against Baylor. With a frigid forecast and a crazy environment in Stillwater, it's all a recipe for bedlam. A week after losing to Michigan State and probably losing their shot at the college football playoff, the Ohio State Buckeyes traveled to Ann Arbor to face Michigan in a little battle that might just be the best rivalry in college sports. Both teams need Michigan State to lose to have a shot at a conference title or more. And there's the added question of how or whether the Buckeyes will bounce back after last week's loss, and if there's dysfunction in their locker room. Neither team should need much external motivation for this one, though. It's the first meeting of coaches Jim Harbaugh and Urban Meyer, and if we're lucky, it'll only be the first of many. The Iron Bowl doesn't take a backseat to any rivalry. It might just be the most intense all year long, but it reaches peak passion on the last weekend in November. And never mind the stakes, but there are stakes, of course. Alabama needs a win to complete its climb all the way back from that early loss and get within 1 step of reaching the college football playoff. And Auburn, despite a very disappointing season, could salvage plenty with a win. Auburn isn't going to win the SEC. The Tigers aren't going to the playoffs, but they love nothing more than to prevent Alabama from getting there. Friday's showdown between Navy and Houston is for the American Athletic Conference's West Division title, and it might also determine the Group of Five's automatic bid to a New Year's Six Bowl. The 9-1 midshipmen are off to their best start since 1963, when Roger Staubach was on his way to the Heisman Trophy. So here's a parallel. Record-setting Navy quarterback Keenan Reynolds is getting some Heisman attention too. Meanwhile, Houston suffered its first loss last week to Connecticut, and the health of quarterbacks Greg Ward Jr. and Kyle Postma is uncertain. But under first-year coach Tom Herman, the Cougars have put together a very good season. The winner of this game has a chance for a special season.